including updates from the EDC staff regarding important EDC work, some successes from 2020, and what's on the horizon for 2021. We hope you enjoy the food from Duo Catering that was delivered to you earlier this evening, along with some Jaffar's wine in a nice wine tote. And cheers to that. And please note, all guests are muted. As we've been saying, we're going to share on the, keep your face up there on the speaker view. We'll be having a Q&A at the end, so that's using that chat feature icon down at the bottom of your screen. And we will also be recording this event for future posterity. So, all righty then, let's get this party rolling along. It's my pleasure to introduce the EDC Board Vice President and my valued wingman, Dave Davis, and his lovely wife, Jean Davis, to share with us all why EDC matters to us.
Good evening. I wasn't living in California when the great Santa Barbara oil spill happened in '69, but I had heard about it. When I moved here a little less than 10 years later, the oil spill was still a major topic of concern and interest. EDC had a reputation as an organization which had demonstrated success in protecting our coast. For me, EDC's appeal always had that David versus Goliath aspect to it. You go after the big guys. You not only go after them, you beat them. Impressive. Now, who wouldn't want to be involved in such an organization as that? The more I've gotten to know EDC, the more committed I have become. EDC is the community's watchdog, providing constant vigilance. EDC is the community's public interest law firm, representing many nonprofits fighting to improve our environment. EDC is the community's educator, sharing its knowledge and expertise with numerous individuals and groups. Who wouldn't want to be part of such an organization? EDC values and treats its supporters well. You make us feel seen and special. You communicate with us regularly, you thank us generously. And your personal notes, most appreciated. Who wouldn't want to be part of such a group? And not insignificantly, all of you are fun people. I mean, just really fun to be around. Who wouldn't want to be part of such an incredible community?
Exactly, Jean. Well, I was here during the oil spill in 1969, and a year later, for the first Earth Day, where the germ of an idea of EDC was formed. Over the many years since then, I've had the pleasure of interacting with EDC in so many ways. Supporter. I cheered when EDC was formed, and for all those years afterwards, in one way or another, I've been a supporter. In fact, I remember chatting with Mark McGinnis, our co-founder and first chief counsel in that one office, little tiny building on Santa Barbara Street many, many years ago. Opponent. Yes, I've actually been on the other side of the table as city planner, having to face the attorneys from EDC on some really contentious issues. EDC was always tough, but straight up advocates for the environment, and absolutely always won my total respect. Client. When I was the CEO of an environmental nonprofit in town, I retained EDC to represent us on some very difficult issues. Always found their representation to be invaluable. Board member. In retirement, I had the honor of being asked to join the board of directors, an incredible group of people who give of their time back to this community. And lastly, team member. We're all part of this team. I had the privilege of working with the EDC's incredible staff. They are environmental heroes. Actually, they even asked me to pitch for their office softball team. The legless lizards of Ormond Beach fame for all you biology freaks. So, paraphrasing Joni Mitchell, I guess you could say that I've looked at EDC from both sides now. And what do I see? I see vision, I see passion, I see competence, I see integrity, and I see love. Love for the land, the water, and the air that we all share. Love for all of God's creatures, big and small, and most importantly, love for each other. Folks, that's why EDC matters to me.
Thank you, EDC, for your commitment to excellence, for your passion for the environment, and for the joy you bring in being with you. And now for a short video.
Hi, it has been a crazy year for everyone who lives in and loves the South Central Coast. There's no question that 2020 has not gone the way we expected.
From the global pandemic to the national movement for Black lives, to the federal government's continued efforts to roll back environmental and climate protections, this year has challenged all of us.
And while there is so much that we could never have predicted, there are two things that we knew we could count on. Important victories for our environment and your incredible support making them happen.
So at the end of this remarkable year, we wanted to take a moment to thank you for all you've done to ensure protection for our climate and local environment.
Thank you for your generous support, which made sure we had the resources to fight oil development in Cat Canyon.
To maintain our moratorium on offshore fracking.
To help protect the Southern California steelhead, one of America's most endangered fish.
To help guide responsible offshore renewable energy.
To protect Naples and the Gaviota Coast.
To ensure clean water for communities and wildlife.
To stop ExxonMobil from restarting 3 platforms and drilling for oil and then trucking its oil for up to 7 years.
Thank you for making sure we had what we needed to protect what really matters, our community, our open space, our clean air and climate, and our environmental legacy.
You are the reason EDC is able to do what we do. And no matter the challenges 2020 put in our way, you made this all possible.
Thank you.
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 We couldn't do any of this without you, and we're all so grateful. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the video, and truly, thank you. My name is Tara Messing, and I'm a staff attorney with the Environmental Defense Center. Now, I know you've heard that the EDC has had 2 major victories in Cat Canyon this year, with the defeat of Aera and PetroRock's risky oil projects. And although our community was facing 2 less fossil fuel projects, EDC, on behalf of our clients, the Sierra Club Los Padres chapter, and Santa Barbara County Action Network, continued to spearhead the fight against the remaining Cat Canyon project. But after more than 3 years of this David and Goliath fight against the oil industry, I'm thrilled to tell you tonight that we have won. All 3 Cat Canyon projects have now been defeated with the recent withdrawal of TerraCore's project application. Hundreds of oil tanker trucks will not flood our local roadways, thousands of native oak trees and threatened wildlife will survive, and our community's water will not be jeopardized by these risky steam injection operations. Perhaps most importantly, the climate risks that these projects presented, given the estimated 700,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent per year, have vanished. We can now see a bit clearer the just transition to the clean, renewable energy future that we desperately need. Of course, the recent news that Phillips 66 plans to shut down its Santa Maria refining facility in 2023 likely impacted TerraCore's decision to finally pull the plug on this terrible project. But EDC's work on this case, as well as the other 2 projects, was critical in leading to not only their delay, but also their ultimate fate. As the leading law firm on these cases, our team analyzed hundreds of pages of environmental impacts reports, sought out expert opinions about the environmental impacts of these projects, and gave our communities the tools they need to speak up through coalition building and information sharing. Also, our work to prevent the massive expansion of oil in Cat Canyon has not been limited to fierce advocacy before the county. We employed a multifaceted approach involving local, state, and federal processes with a variety of different agencies. For example, EDC continues to advocate before the state agency that regulates the oil and gas industry for new rules to protect communities that live near oil and gas fields, like putting buffer zones between schools and homes and oil production. We need these setbacks locally to protect communities from projects like TerraCores, which would have put a new well pad a mere 0.7 miles from an elementary school. Stopping the 3 Cat Canyon projects is one way to protect these communities, but we are also looking at the bigger picture. We need new rules to make these public health protections more permanent. This same state agency is also proposing to allow oil companies to dodge federal drinking water protections and expand risky steam injection in the Cat Canyon oil field. Known as the Cat Canyon Aquifer Exemption, this proposal would threaten clean drinking water for over 150,000 North County residents in areas that are already ranked among the top 1% for groundwater threats. Much like the aquifer exemptions proposed in the past, the Cat Canyon exemption was on the fast track to another rubber-stamped approval. That is until EDC sounded the alarm bells. So while 2020 has definitely had its ups and downs, EDC has had successes that will shape the energy future of our county in a very positive way. Our accomplishments, though, would not have been possible without your support and generosity. Sincerely, thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kristen Hislop, our Marine Conservation Program Director, to give an update about EDC's work on offshore wind. Cheers.
Thank you to Tara for sharing that great news. I mean, more than ever, we need to celebrate these wins together. And I hope that everyone participating in this event actually feels a part of this victory. Your support was vital to helping us keep a massive amount of oil in the ground where it belongs, and we all deserve to celebrate. As Tara said, I'm Kristen Hislop, the director of EDC's Marine Conservation Program, and I'm here to pick up where Tara left off in the story of how we've transitioned from fossil fuels to renewable energy. We all know that we are well into a climate crisis and that it is past time for our communities to move on from our history of oil development, polluting our incredible coastline, both on land and offshore. We also know that reaching our 100% renewable goals is going to take multi-stakeholder collaboration, honest conversations about the impacts of large-scale commercial uses in our ocean and on land, and some compromises. Floating offshore wind has entered the conversation as a technology that may help us reach our local and statewide renewable energy goals. About 2 years ago, a company requested to lease an area in federal waters offshore Morro Bay to develop the first offshore wind project on the West Coast. Because there was competitive interest in leasing this area, meaning more than one wind company stepped forward to say they wanted to develop a project in this area, a planning process was initiated. So the Bureau of Energy and Ocean Management is the agency responsible for leasing in federal waters, and they worked closely with the California Energy Commission to put together an agency task force to determine the specifics of where these projects may be sited. Many considerations will go into siting, such as how good the wind resource is in the area, whether there's an energy need, if there's current infrastructure to support the development of floating offshore wind, and they will also look at overlapping uses such as fishing and shipping and impacts to the marine environment. Of course, this last consideration, impacts to the marine environment, is where EDC steps in. When the first wind company came forward to request a lease, EDC stepped up as a local leader in responding to this request. We worked with the California Energy Commission to host a local workshop to inform our community on what this all means. And we worked with partnering nonprofits to comment on the lease request. We also wanted to have a proactive role and learn how and if we could support offshore wind, since we know it has the potential to greatly reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and help us put an end to offshore oil drilling, something EDC's been doing for a long time. So EDC helped form a working group that is comprised of conservation nonprofits and offshore wind companies to look closely at wildlife and habitat impacts. Together, we hope to advance coordinated scientific research to better understand how floating offshore wind turbines may interact with wildlife and how to avoid and minimize those potential impacts. Examples include seabird mortality from the moving blades, scour on the ocean floor from the cables, interactions with derelict fishing gear that may lead to secondary entanglement of marine mammals and fishes, ocean noise, among others. So why work directly with the industry on these important questions? I know many of you probably know that we're often opposed to industry, But we are optimistic that offshore wind can develop along the California coast in a responsible way. And because of that, our goals are aligned. We also understand the urgency of getting renewable energy online, both for climate impacts and grid reliability during this seemingly new normal of a long and devastating wildfire season in California. So by working together, we can identify pressure points early to reduce the risk that groups like EDC will oppose projects. We can identify science needs and technology concerns and work directly with industry to address them. EDC is not a stranger to multi-stakeholder working groups, and we hope to have the same collaborative success with this group as we have with our other efforts, for example, with whales and shipping. So while we work collaboratively, you can be sure that we will also advocate for what is best for whales, kelp forests, seabirds, and everything else that calls this part of the ocean home. Because of this, EDC's voice is critical in these working groups. Any industrial use of the ocean is going to have impacts, we know that. And there may be projects that we find problematic. However, we remain hopeful that floating offshore wind may be one piece of the renewable puzzle that will help prevent the devastating negative impacts of climate change. We welcome the conversation with industry, agencies, and most importantly, all of you on how to do that the right way. So with that, I now have the pleasure to introduce Danny Elkin, EDC's office manager and event coordinator, and his bluegrass band, the Salty Strings.
I'm out here with Salty Strings, a Santa Barbara bluegrass band made up entirely of environmental scientists and lovers of the outdoors. We feel so honored to be joining the EDC Stewardship Circle members this year from the bluffs of the Douglas Family Preserve, an EDC protected space that means so much to all of us. As our way to say thanks for all your support to EDC, we're going to perform one of our favorite tunes, Big Country, written by Bela Fleck. Thanks again for all your support. Now I'll hand it off to somebody who needs no introduction, EDC's Chief Counsel, Linda KROP.
Hi, Danny. That was just wonderful. Thank you so much. So thanks to all of our speakers. Thanks to all of you for being here. We have a lot to celebrate tonight. And what I'm going to focus on is looking forward, what we might expect. And we just had a very important election last week. So what I'm going to do is talk about what that means for us here. And I have to say, when the election first happened, I was disappointed that we didn't also take back the Senate. But then I thought about it and I realized that there's a lot that the Biden-Harris administration can do. They don't need congressional approval as well. So there's really three things that we can look forward to. One is the administration can issue what are called executive orders that take effect immediately. Second, the agencies that under this administration, like the Environmental Protection Agency and Department of Interior, can issue regulations. They can also withdraw poor regulations that weaken environmental protections that were enacted by the Trump administration. And third, they can change their position in litigation. There's a lot of lawsuits out there. There's like hundreds of lawsuits out there challenging poor decisions and actions by the Trump administration. And instead of defending those actions, the new administration can actually do the right thing and withdraw those poor actions. So in terms of executive orders, probably the first thing that we'll see from this new president is rejoining the Paris Accord. That will go a long way, not only to helping restore climate stabilization, but also our status in the global community. And in fact, we need to update that agreement. We need to set new standards as soon as possible. Also, with respect to climate change, the president can reinstate the Clean Power Plan, which affects the large power plants that are collectively the largest emitters of greenhouse gas emissions in the country, can reinstate fuel efficiency standards that are necessary to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support California as a leader on that issue, and reinstate the methane rule, which will greatly reduce the largest single gas contributor to climate change. We also look forward to this administration improving our air regulations for things like particulate matter and ozone, stop funding the border wall, which is a huge humanitarian issue, but also affects wildlife that knows no borders. We expect this administration to restore protections for wetlands, which are hugely important, especially in California, where we've lost about 90% of our wetlands. We look forward to this administration restoring protections that have been lost with respect to protecting coastal resources, endangered and threatened species, air quality, water quality. In terms of looking at public lands, through executive order, this president can restore protections for national monuments. So things like restoring protections for Bears Ears and Grand Staircase, Escalante National Monument, that I think a lot of you all enjoy. So restoring those protections from logging and mining and oil and gas development. And in our area, this president can also lift the ban on proposing new national marine sanctuaries. That ban has been in effect throughout the Trump administration. And why we care about that is because we have been supporting a proposed new national marine sanctuary off of our coast. The Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary would extend from Gaviota up to the southern border of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary in Cambria. That's huge. It would not only protect migrating whales, wildlife, seabirds, but it would also permanently prohibit any oil and gas development off the coast. And that is an area that has been proposed for oil and gas development in the past. So it is a real threat. Other things that we look forward to seeing here, hopefully one of the first things that the new president will do is withdraw, I don't even want to say president, Trump's 5-year oil and gas leasing plan that would have opened the entire country to new oil and gas leasing, but especially the target on the Pacific region is the Santa Barbara Channel. So that plan has not been completed. President could easily just toss it in the trash can and go back to the old Obama plan, which protects the entire Pacific coast. We'd also love to see this administration reverse its position on issuing fracking permits for the platforms off the coast of California and including in Santa Barbara Channel. EDC has a lawsuit on behalf of Channel Keeper and EDC. We're challenging those permits. We have an injunction. We're in court. It would be great for this new administration to settle with us and say, you know, we're going to stop issuing those permits. They haven't gone through environmental review. They haven't been reviewed by the California Coastal Commission. So that's something that we're hoping to see. Also in our region, we do expect this administration to put a halt to the proposal to frack on public lands, including Bureau of Land Management lands. In our area, that means the Carrizo National Monument, which, believe it or not, the old administration, the current administration, has proposed fracking. So we want to see that reversed right away as well. So you can see there's a lot of hope. A lot of hope with this administration. What makes me especially hopeful is that we have a vice president-elect who knows these issues. Our Senator, Kamala Harris, opposed the offshore leasing plan. She opposes offshore fracking. She opposes fracking on BLM lands and national monuments. She's already taken a position. She knows how important climate change is. She supported the Green New Deal. She and President-elect Biden are going to be an incredible partnership, and we look forward to working with them. We look forward to working with all of you as our partners. We look forward to working with our clients and other NGOs on all of these issues. So after a very tumultuous week, we're feeling really excited and wanted to share all of that with you. And you might have your own ideas as well as what we can look forward to. So on that note, I would like to turn it over to our wonderful Executive Director, Owen Bailey.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you. That was, it's great to start this period with some hope. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's just so great to see you. I'm sorry we're not together in person. This is such a special night, and I have to say, I feel a little sad that we can't be in a room together, but I'm grateful to Zoom, and it really is so wonderful to see your faces. It has been far too long, and what a year it's been for our country, for our community, for EDC, and for me personally. Maybe that's a good place to start because I know I can't hide my shiny new haircut. I always assumed that I had a shapely skull, and I'm very excited that I've been able to finally put that debate to rest. But I wanted you all to be among the first to know that I have just gotten some very good news. My most recent scan came back yesterday, and it's so encouraging. And I feel such a debt of gratitude to this community. So many of you have reached out to me over the last months and now years to share your kindness and your support. And it has truly meant the world to me. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. Yesterday's scan is the result of just about a month's worth of treatment. I think many of you know at the end of September, the clinical trial that I was on went south. Things weren't progressing in the right direction. So we stopped that. And I started on chemo and radiation on October 2nd. So just over a month. And we learned yesterday that my tumors have shrunk about 50%, which is just a staggering number, especially for such an incredibly short period of time. We're going to continue with the chemotherapy to shrink things down as much as we can, do a couple more treatments up here in Santa Barbara, and then we're going to figure out what's the best strategy to eradicate the disease. But right now, I am feeling great, and I have made progress in the last month that was a surprise to everybody, including my doctor. So it's just a really exciting week. For the time being, this means I'm going to keep locked down, but I don't think that's a surprise to anybody in this group. I think most of us are locked down. Like everybody on the EDC staff, I work at home. I travel out seldom, and when I do, it's not to be in a building. You'll find me at Elwood Mesa or down on the beach. And I have to say, I hope that each one of you is doing the same thing. I hope that everyone here is trying to create opportunities to get out of your home, to find a safe and socially distant way to get out and remind yourself how beautiful this place is, and to give yourself some credit for the work that you've done to keep these open spaces protected, and to remind ourselves how important it is to be vigilant to make sure that we keep this place beautiful for ourselves and for future generations. So whether you're going to Elwood or the Carpinteria Bluffs, whether you're going to Sedgwick or you're going to the Douglas Family Preserve to hear Danny play, as you all know, EDC has protected more than 100,000 acres across the Tri-County area. And there is no better time that I can imagine than now to get out and safely remember why it is you chose to live here. I will say for myself, over this pandemic period, I have developed a renewed sense, or I guess an expanded sense of pride to be associated with this organization that has done so much over so many years to protect open space, that has worked tirelessly to ensure we have clean water, and has worked to make sure that we all have the clean air that we need. EDC is central to so many of the environmental conversations that happen and have happened for well over 40 years here. And EDC constantly serves as your attorneys, working in the public interest to help keep safe our communities, our coast, and all the plants and animals that share this beautiful place with us. Now, this year has been extraordinarily challenging in so many ways, and yet EDC has managed some incredibly significant victories. I mean, Tara was just talking about Cat Canyon, and what an incredible win that was. And I think it's important to think back to just a couple of months ago. We were facing 3 massive oil projects in Cat Canyon that would have tripled oil production in Santa Barbara County, that would have had an incredible negative impact on our climate. And now, thanks to Tara, thanks to Brian, thanks to the EDC team and our incredible clients and the broad and diverse partnership that we worked with for 3 years, one after another of those projects fell, and now we are facing no new oil development in Cat Canyon. We've had victories for steelhead. We've helped preserve the rural character of Solvang. At a time when so much of the world seems to be standing still, or worse, to be falling back, EDC keeps moving forward. At a time when it feels hard to focus between COVID-19 and the long overdue conversation about Black lives and social and environmental justice, EDC keeps working. At a time when there's so much going on, and our nation and our values and our environment are under a chaotic siege, EDC keeps doing the work the same way we've done it every single year, consistently, with focus and with success. So now, looking forward to 2021, like Linda, I have hope. I have hope. But I'm also very conscious of the uncertainty that we face and how much work there is to do. And I have to tell you, like everybody on this incredible staff, there is no place we'd rather be than right here, working for this community and making sure that this organization stays strong, remains the steady hand that each one of us needs to protect our climate and our environment. I'm gonna be done in 1 minute. I'm gonna pass this over to Betsy and we're gonna do questions. If you have any questions at all about the cases you've heard about or about EDC's work, if you have questions about environmental issues nationally or about EDC overall, please type them into the chat box below and Betsy will get to as many as she can. But before I turn it over, I have one more thing that I wanna say. I wanna say thank you once again. As we said in that video just a few minutes ago, none of this happens without you. You are truly the engine that propels this work forward. There is no EDC without you and the commitment that you've demonstrated to this work year after year after year, and we are all beyond grateful to you. Your support and your partnership means so much that we are united. We are the EDC team, and that's why we succeed. Those of you who've been to this event in the past in person know that this isn't an evening that we ask anything of you. This is our chance to say thank you. This is our chance to recognize you, to appreciate you who make this staff able to do this work. But I will say, in a couple of days, you are going to see something in your mailboxes. And I hope you'll take a look at that. This year, 2 of our most beloved and generous donors have created a unique and special year-end match for us. So every new and increased year-end donation made between now and the end of the year will be doubled up to $45,000. You who've been around EDC a long time know what a difference that will make for our work. And there are so many organizations out there right now that need support. There is so much work that needs to be done. And I know you give to so many organizations, and that's part of what makes us proud to be a part of this community. We're all in this together and we're all looking out for each other. But if you could look at that mailer, if you could, when you get a phone call from me or one of our wonderful board members, think about what you can do to help us earn that match. 2021 is going to continue the challenges that we've faced. But I know with your support, EDC is prepared to meet those challenges. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for always being here for EDC. We're so grateful. And with that, I will turn it over to Betsy, and we'd love to hear your questions.
Thank you, Owen. I will admit that I changed my view over into gallery mode, and it's just really fun to see everyone's faces. If you're comfortable going back and forth, I would take a look. It's very entertaining. Thanks for joining us. We have a few questions that have come in. The first one I'm going to throw out to Linda. Can you tell us what's happening with ExxonMobil's efforts?
Sure. So as you probably know, Exxon's platforms have been shut down since the 2015 pipeline oil spill, and Exxon is trying to figure out a way to restart those platforms and get its oil processed and off to refineries and then to market. But there's no new pipeline yet, and there won't be one for many years. So Exxon has applied to the county for permits to truck the oil. So the oil comes on shore, is processed in Las Flores Canyon on the Gaviota Coast, used to go into a pipeline to refineries, but Exxon is proposing to load up 70 truckloads a day and send the oil up 101 on the Gaviota Coast through that, very dangerous curve in 101 through the tunnel. And then the plan was to either, put some of the oil into a pipeline system that starts in Santa Maria and went to 2 Phillips refineries in California, or truck it across 166, also, even more dangerous than 101, to Kern County, and then into a pipeline to refineries in Kern County and LA counties. And on the eve of the Planning Commission hearing, the county planning staff recommended not allowing trucks to go across 166 because it is so narrow and windy and dangerous. We just had an oil tanker truck accident there in March. So the only option was go into the Phillips system at Santa Maria. Well, later that afternoon, Phillips announced that it was shutting down those refineries. Phillips is converting to only refining renewable fuel stock, which is really exciting for California. So the hearing got canceled. EDC represents Get Oil Out and Santa Barbara County Action Network, and we're waiting to see what Exxon's going to do. Exxon could try to truck out to Kern County. Exxon could wait for a pipeline. Exxon could decide to go away, which would be our choice. So we're still waiting. I just checked with the county today, no new news, but we should know soon at least what path this will take. But we're definitely going to fight it very hard all the way.
Thanks, Linda. I'm going to toss this one to Kristen. Hoping to hear a little bit more about the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary that's been proposed and what the status is on that.
Great. Yes, so the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, as Linda mentioned, would basically close to connect the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary with Monterey Bay. So we're talking about a really important stretch of coastline around Point Conception and Point Arguello. Very important for migratory animals, as Linda mentioned, but also very important to the Chumash people and their heritage, which is why it's the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. It was driven by the Chumash, and of course EDC worked very hard to also support them in the nomination, and we were very happy that in October the nomination was extended, which means we have another 5 years of it being active, and for the National Marine Sanctuary program to designate it as a sanctuary and make it happen. As you can imagine, we weren't too hopeful in the last 4 years that we could get any extra protections for the ocean from the federal government, but now we have a more friendly administration. We have a lot of support from our elected officials, and we will be doing everything we can to support the Chumash in designating this area. And one thing to note, if you're looking at the two overlapping issues that I've talked about tonight, Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary and offshore wind, the area that is being proposed for offshore wind is smack dab in the middle of this proposed National Marine Sanctuary. So it will be an interesting policy discussion around how to move forward potentially with both. We don't have offshore wind in other national marine sanctuaries, so just something that we may talk about down the line, and it's a very interesting policy discussion. I hope that gives an update for you.
Great. Linda, it looks like this is another one for you. How likely is it that the Trump administration will restart their efforts to sell new offshore oil leases?
Well, the Trump administration was planning on moving forward with this program. So it's a program that identifies new areas for offshore oil leasing and included our entire coast. We heard that the next step in that process would occur right after this election, but it cannot be completed by January 20th. There would be a proposed program that would be issued for public comment for 90 days. Then there's a final program, and then there's a 60-day review for Congress and the president. So some people thought he might move forward just out of spite, but I don't think this is the number one thing on his radar these days. I think it's lawsuits and golf. So, if it comes out, we'll definitely do our due diligence and raise our objections, knowing that the new administration will, put it on hold and withdraw it. So, luckily, the timing is on our side.
Great. We're kind of pinballing between Linda and Kristen here. Throwing this one back to you, Kristen. Is there any news on the work to remove platform Holly and the other old platforms that are off the coast here in the channel in California?
Yes, so we are seeing the end of an era for some of our platforms. Maybe we'll see the platforms disappear as wind is coming online. We shall see. Not in the same locations though. But yes, platform Holly is in the process of being decommissioned, which means the wells are being plugged and abandoned. The structure is being readied for removal. There was a delay this year because of the pandemic, so they had to take people off the platform and pause the effort. So while we expected the environmental assessment for the actual removal of the platform to happen sometime this year, or to be released sometime this year, it looks like it has been delayed likely until next year, or I don't know how long this delay will be, but we're paying attention to that. There's also a few other platforms in the channel, the Point Arguello unit, which is near Point Conception for those who aren't familiar with all the platforms, and then some further in the Eastern Channel. So we have multiple platforms that are being decommissioned now. So again, meaning they're being readied for removal and plugged in an environmentally friendly way so that they don't leak like the ones off of Summerland have been. Yeah, and we will be seeing them slowly removed. They do require, I know there's a lot of questions about how they're going to be removed, but regardless of if they are fully removed or stay partially in place, they require a really giant rig to come from the North Sea or from the Gulf and travel all the way to California. And we'll likely have one of those rigs removing all of them, and they take about a year each. So it's going to be a very long process, and EDC will be there for the whole thing.
Great, thanks, Kristen. And just to clarify, someone asked here in the chat feed which platform Holly is. It's the one off of UCSB, pretty close to the coast there in the state waters. Moving on, we have a question for Linda. What do we expect the impacts will be from the new Supreme Court?
Well, we don't know for sure, but actually, once again, I'm not as worried as some people, and let me explain why. On constitutional issues, I'm very worried. Most environmental litigation is focused on interpreting statutes, what Congress meant, what Congress intended. And I think we have a majority on the Supreme Court. I think you take the 3 liberals plus Roberts and Gorsuch to start with, that are very closely hewn to what the statute says. And with a lot of environmental laws, it's pretty clear what the statute says. And in those situations, they're going to say, just like the old Supreme Court did with the Endangered Species Act, a very famous, first Endangered Species Act case where the Supreme Court said, hey, we don't tell you what's right, we just tell you what the law says. And basically wink, wink, Congress, if you want to do something different, do something different. Fortunately, that never happened. I think we might have a majority on the Supreme Court that's like that. So people just need to be really careful what we take up to the Supreme Court, make sure that we have strong laws that we want enforced and upheld. I think today's hearing on the Affordable Care Act kind of bears support for that theory, because you had Roberts and I think it was Kavanaugh saying, look, Congress took away the money piece. Congress did not repeal the law. So they're going to look really closely at what Congress has done. And I think for a lot of environmental laws that we enforce, the law is pretty clear and pretty strong. So I'm going to stay in my hopeful mode tonight.
Thanks, Linda. We are going to wrap up here, so I'm actually going to throw it back to you for a little closing. But if anyone has further questions, please feel free to email staff at any point in time, and we'll get back to you if you didn't get them answered tonight. And it's all yours, Linda.
Thank you. In closing, I want to reiterate how deeply grateful we all are for your support. You really are part of the EDC team that Dave talked about and Owen talked about. Your input means a lot to us. Your participation means a lot to us. We miss seeing you in person. We got to see some of you today when we were delivering the goods, and that was really fun. But we just want you to know that you are part of our team, and we want to stay in touch even during COVID. So whether it's an email, a phone call, whatever, please do keep in touch. And thanks, Owen, for the wonderful news. And we look forward to carrying on. And go to Douglas, hear Danny's band, and be outdoors, be safe, be well. Thank you. Oh, and like Betsy said, maybe go to gallery view and we can all wave to each other. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fun to see everybody.
Thanks, Daniel.
Great job, everybody.
Oh boy, we're a bunch of diehards. We want to say goodbye to everybody, huh?
I want to see if someone wants us to auction off Owen's sweater.
I was gonna start the bidding, but I wasn't sure where to start it at without the auctioneer.
Could never afford it.
Maybe a rental?
That went really well. It was just the right timing and moved along. And you know, that staff thank you thing, that was perfect. And Danny's video doing the salty strings, it was just fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that
It was
video.
awesome.
The videos came out well, both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Wow, YouTube was the way to go then.
Minor glitches, you really didn't notice. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Looked great from my end.
Great job,
Yeah.
everybody. Such great public speaking,
Good
all
job.
of you. Really incredible
Great,
job.
great work.
Great
Thank
work.
you, everybody.
You know, and a big solid week. Owen, your news was the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks
You
for
know
sharing.
that. I almost reached out to you today to see what you learned, and then I got
Life
crazy.
happens.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Good week.
Very exciting.
Good week.
Good week. Very good week.
All right,
Well,
everybody.
a virtual
Alrighty.
cheers, EDC team, and
Cheers.
everyone else who's still on.
Cheers.
Yes.
Great job, guys. This was fabulous.
Really was. Really was.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you
Good
all.
night, Lila.
That meeting. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Lila.